Good morning, Madam High Commissioner. We would like to welcome you to the French International School of Dhaka.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
We invited you because of our interest in you being a woman in power. We would like to ask you some questions about your job and your experiences.
Why did you become a High Commissioner?
Why did I become a High Commissioner? That's a very good question. I did it. I'm not a traditional diplomat. I didn't join the diplomatic service at the beginning of my career. So my background is I'm an economist. So I like to think about economics and how countries develop and grow. And so I started working on development issues. So working to help developing countries grow and improve their prospects, their prosperity. And I started working for the UK government, and I came to Bangladesh, and I worked here on our aid program. And then after that, someone suggested, why don't you move into the diplomatic service, into the foreign service? And I applied for some jobs, and I became a High Commissioner for the first time in Tanzania, in East Africa. And I'm now here in Bangladesh. This is my second job as a High Commissioner. And I applied for the job because you do something different every day. Every day is different. Some days I'm working on issues of relevance to our two countries. So my job is to represent the UK and the UK government here in Bangladesh, and to work with the government and the people of Bangladesh to ensure that our two countries have good relationships and that they work together well. But the other part of my job is to ensure that British people who are living here in Bangladesh, if they have problems, if they get into difficulties, then we support them. So if they lose their passport, for example, we help them get a new passport. Or if they get into trouble with the police, we help them to ensure that they are being treated appropriately. So basically, I became a High Commissioner because every day is different. I get to represent my country, and I get to talk to really interesting people, including people like you.
What do you do as a High Commissioner? What is your daily routine and your role?
Sorry, what do I do in my...
What do you do as a High Commissioner? What is your daily routine and your role?
Right. Well, I said a little bit about that. So, as I said, as a High Commissioner, I represent my country with my colleagues in the High Commission. So we work to ensure that the UK and Bangladesh have strong relationships, that we work together on issues like trade, like development, like climate change. And as I said, we also work to look after British nationals who are in the country. We have a lot of British nationals who live and work here in Bangladesh. So my daily routine, I don't have one. Every day is different, and that's what I like about the job. But what I do is make sure I get some exercise every day. So before I go to the office, I go and do my exercise bike, my spin bike. I do that every morning. And then during the day, I have meetings with my team. I have meetings with government officials, with private sector, with British companies, with Bangladeshi companies. And I also meet with Bangladeshi people who are doing interesting things that help the UK have a strong relationship with Bangladesh. And then quite often in the evening, I have commitments as well. I go out, I meet with our contacts, I host people in my own house, I invite people around for dinner, I invite people around for afternoon tea, and we talk about issues and how we can ensure that the UK and Bangladesh are working well together.
What is the difficult part of your job?
Ooh, that's a really good question. What's the difficult part of my job? Often we have, I have to have, if we have British nationals in trouble, if they're here if they've lost their passport or if they've got into trouble with the authorities. That's very difficult because sometimes they think that we can solve all their problems, and that's not always possible. So sometimes we have to have difficult conversations, but our job is to try and help British nationals who, as much as we can, who are here in the country. Other difficult part of my job, I have a big team, and so ensuring that our team are working together well and having able to have the meetings that they need to have with our key contacts. That's not always easy. I think those are probably some of the difficult things. But I'm very lucky. I love my job. And every day I really enjoy the different things I have to do. And sometimes it can be stressful and challenging, but it's always really enjoyable.
What is your favorite part of your job?
My favourite part of my job is definitely talking to people. I'm quite a nosy person, so I like to talk to people and understand what they're thinking and what they're doing. And I think a good part of the job is that I don't just get to stay in Dhaka. I have to travel around the country as well, and I love travelling. I love meeting different people. I love seeing different parts of the country, different cities. And also I love trying new things, different food. You know, the food in Bangladesh is very different to the food in the UK, so I love doing that as well. But mainly it's just meeting new people and understanding what they do and how we can work with them. And if I can do that out of Dhaka, that's even better.
Is it more difficult to be a High Commissioner if you're a woman?
That's a really good question. It's not always easy. Sometimes I walk into a meeting and I am the only woman in the room, and that can feel a little bit intimidating and a bit challenging sometimes. And sometimes I'm not always taken as seriously. Not very rarely, but sometimes that can happen. So I think as women we do have to work a little bit harder to prove ourselves that we can do the job. But that is changing. In many countries now we have many women ambassadors and high commissioners. So the UK has a lot of ambassadors around the world who are women, and I think just changing those perceptions that a woman can be an ambassador, can be a high commissioner, that's really changed in the last few years, but it's not always easy, and sometimes we do have to work a little bit harder.
Have you been in danger or in a special situation because of your job?
Not in this job, but quite a few years ago I used to work in a country in the South Pacific, and they had quite a lot of political problems, and there was a lot of conflict between different members of the community. And so because the conflict was getting worse, we were evacuated from the country and taken to Australia. So I spent 5 days on an Australian naval ship to leave the country and to go to Australia because people were worried about the fighting and the situation. So that's probably the only time I've been a little bit scared in my job. But we were very well looked after, and obviously everything worked out for the best. So I'm still here. But that was a little bit scary.
How long have you been in Bangladesh?
How long have I been in Bangladesh? I have been, well, this is my second time in Bangladesh. So I lived here for 4 years, between 2012 and 2016, and I worked in the High Commission. And then I went away, and then I came back in 2023. So I've been here this time for 2 years, but before that for 4 years. So in total, that's 6 years here in Bangladesh. So I guess that shows how much I love living and working here.
What do you like about living in Bangladesh?
What do I like about living in Bangladesh? I love the people. I think the people of Bangladesh are very kind, very generous, very hospitable. I love the food. As I mentioned, the food is very different to our food in the UK, but I'm a big fan of biryani, and I love samosas, and I love the shingara as well, and the fushka. I love fushka too. So I love the food. And the other thing I love is cricket. So I'm a big fan of playing cricket and watching cricket. I know it's not a school that, not a sport that a lot of people from France play, but it's a big sport in the UK, and it's obviously a very big sport here in Bangladesh. So I like watching that as well. So that's another thing that I really love about living in this country.
What is the difference between a high commission and an embassy?
Oh, right. That's a very good question. There is no difference. It is the same job, but we have a different name. We say High Commission because embassies that are located in what we call Commonwealth countries. So in France there is the Francophonie, all the countries that are French-speaking countries. We have a similar grouping or family of countries called the Commonwealth, and His Majesty King Charles III is the head of the Commonwealth. And these all are the countries that used to or are English-speaking, or where there's been a very strong connection with the UK for very many years. So when you are an ambassador in a Commonwealth country, we are called a High Commission or a High Commissioner, and we work in the High Commission. But there is no difference between the job or the work that we do in an embassy or in a High Commission. It's just a different name depending on which country you are working in.
How many people work for the High Commission?
Oh, we're what we would call, we're one of the biggest High Commissions in the world for the UK. We have a big team here. We have over 300 people working in our embassy. So it's a big embassy, it's a big High Commission here. It's one of the biggest in Bangladesh, and it's one of the biggest the UK has around the world.
What was your first job and did you like it?
Ooh, my first job. So as I said, I'm an economist. So I like to, I'm trained to think about countries and how their economies grow. So my first job was not working for the UK government. I worked for a private company called PricewaterhouseCoopers. Some of you might have heard of it. It's a consultancy company, and I worked with the chief economist of that company to do economic analysis and thinking about how countries grow, what the UK economic policy should be. And I did that for 3 years, and I really enjoyed it. And then I moved more to work on in countries, developing countries.
Have you met any kings or queens, and what did you talk about?
Oh, no, that's a good question. And it's a good question to ask because I went to the palace, to Buckingham Palace, in February of this year to meet with His Majesty King Charles. Because obviously when I am in Bangladesh, I am His Majesty's representative here in Bangladesh as the High Commissioner. So I went to meet with him, with my husband. We went together to Buckingham Palace and we met with the King. I'm afraid I can't tell you what we talked about. The conversation has to be kept private because it's such an important, special conversation. But what I can say is that he was very knowledgeable about Bangladesh. He's been here a couple of times in the past, and so we talked about our experiences. But I'm not allowed to say any more about that. I've also, before she sadly died, I met with Queen Elizabeth, who, as you know, was our longest reigning queen. And again, I was very lucky to meet with her, because when I was the High Commissioner to Tanzania, I was her representative. She was the Queen, so I was representing her and her government, the UK government, in Tanzania in East Africa. So again, I went to meet with Her Majesty, and we had a very nice conversation in Buckingham Palace. She had the corgis, the dogs, her favourite dogs, running around at her feet. And I had, with both the Queen and with the King, we had about 10 minutes of discussion. And again, I can't say what we talked about, but it's, again, she had travelled to so many countries around the world and had so much interest in countries in Tanzania. But because I'd also been living in Bangladesh, we talked a little bit about that, but I can't say any more about it.
Is Bangladesh important for the UK and why?
Ah, very good question. Bangladesh is very important for the UK. As you may know, we have a lot of people of Bangladeshi origin. We have a big British Bangladeshi community in the UK, in London, in Manchester, in cities around the UK. We think there are about 650,000 British Bangladeshis living in the UK. So that means that they are a very important part of our society, our community. Most of them are from Sylhet, up in the north of the country. So because of those people-to-people ties, that's why Bangladesh is important to the UK. But we also have very, very strong economic ties as well, lots of trade and investment between the two countries. So as you know, the ready-made garment industry is very important here in Bangladesh. A lot of the clothes that we are wearing will be made here in Bangladesh in factories. And a lot of British shops on the high street in the UK, they buy a lot of clothes, or they source a lot of clothes from Bangladesh to sell in their shops in the UK. So that's another reason why it's an important relationship to us. And we also work together on lots of other issues, on climate change. We know that's a big issue for Bangladesh. It's also a big issue for the UK. And we work together on other regional issues. So as you know, Bangladesh is looking after, or is hosting a lot of refugees, the Rohingya refugees from Myanmar, and has been doing that for a long time and very generous in helping to support those very vulnerable people. So we also are working with Bangladesh to support those refugees, because we know it's the Bangladeshi community has been very hospitable to them, but they need the rest of the world to help them look after the refugees. So we are also doing that. So there's lots of different areas where the UK and Bangladesh work together, and why it's an important country for us.
What's your favourite place in the UK?
My favourite place in the UK? Ooh, good question. Well, my home in the UK, I live in Scotland, in a city called Glasgow. My husband is from there, and I love living in Scotland. It's a beautiful country. It's got everything. It's got hills, it's got beaches, it's got lochs, it's got lakes. So it's got beautiful scenery. And also the people are very friendly, very kind, very warm. So Scotland is very important to me. But I grew up in London, or near London, and I lived in London for a long time. It's our capital city. It's a very exciting city. You can do anything there. It has people from all over the world. I think London has, I think you can probably find somebody who speaks every language. So you will find someone who speaks that language around the world. It's very multicultural. It's a very dynamic city. And so again, am I allowed to cheat and say I've got two favourite places, Scotland and London?
What is your favorite food?
My favourite food? Ooh, gosh, that's a good question actually. Chocolate. I love it. Really love chocolate. So that's why I have to go on the exercise bike every morning, so because I enjoy chocolate too much. But in Bangladesh, I would say my favourite food is the shingara. I love shingara.
Thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. We hope to see you again.
Oh, thank you very much. And you've asked me some brilliant questions. I hope I've answered them in a way that's helpful, and I've done the questions justice. But thank you very much for that as well. And thank you for inviting me.